Let's talk about terpenes, right? So your terpenes, they are naturally occurring alkenes, right? And they contain two or more isoprene units, right? That are bonded tail to head or head to tail, right? Your isoprene units are never bonded head to head or tail to tail. If you have a head to head bond or a tail to tail bond, you do not have a terpene. Always remember that. Now, um, 2-methyl 1,3-butadiene. This right here is an isoprene. All right, hold on to that. However, when you have your terpenes, it's a variation of this, right, that will be present in your terpenes. It's a variation of this. All your isoprene units that is present in your terpenes does not look like this. It's a variation of this. So this is what I recommend. When you're looking for your terpenes, you're looking for this framework because this is the only thing that stays constant and never varies. So this is the framework that I need you to use. You have 4 carbons, right? And then on carbon 2, you have a CH3. There is so many variations of isoprene, and we're going to look at some of them because you could just have one double bond here, and that's isoprene. Because your 1, 2, 3, 4 and your methyl group on 2 still exists. So look for this framework, please, when you're looking for your isoprene units. This is the head of the isoprene unit. So a way to identify the head is that you know that the head is the carbon that is bonded to the carbon with the CH3. So the head is carbon 1, carbon 2 has the CH3, carbon 4, where the CH3 is furthest from, is the tail, right? So remember, in order for you to consider a terpene has to have two or more of these bonded head to tail or tail to head. Never head to head, never tail to tail. Let us look at some examples. All right, we're going to start with a simple one, right? So this is what I recommend. When you're trying to find your isoprene units, right? Because this molecule, by the way, is a terpene. So now let's find the isoprene unit in this terpene. Here's my recommendation. You know that this is the framework that you're looking for. So I know on carbon 2 I have a CH3. So anywhere you see a CH3, whether it's double bonded, whether it is double bonded or singly bonded, go to it, right? Go to it and test it out. Let's see. So if this is my CH3, this would have to be carbon 2, right? So it means that if this is 2 and I consider this 1, maybe I do have a isoprene unit. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You notice the first thing I did was find my CH3. This is my CH3, right? Carbon 1, 2, 3, 4. This is an isoprene unit. Remember what I told you to look for. You're looking for this framework. That's what I've highlighted in blue. Notice now the double bonds are being played with. There's one here, one here. You don't worry about that. This is the skeleton that needs to be present for you to be like, yes, that's the isoprene unit. What else they do, you don't need to worry about it. Now let's identify the head and the tail. Remember, the head is carbon 1, which is the carbon right next to carbon number 2, and the tail is carbon number 4. Sorry, I didn't number these. This is 3, and this is 4. Let us see if we have another isoprene unit in here. Find another carbon that has a CH3 on it right here. So if this is my 1, this is my 2, this is my 3, this is my 4. This is an isoprene unit. So let's draw it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, let's talk about this bond, and I'm going to make the bond, oh, before we talk about the bond, sorry. So this is head, right? And this carbon right here is tail, right? Let us talk about this bond. This bond is a bond that cross-link. It cross-links the head to the tail. It's a part of the molecule because you saw that before. But notice it is not a part of either one of these isoprene units. The only what's in blue is isoprene unit. This bond right here is what is cross-linking the two isoprene units. So if you notice, my head of this isoprene unit is bonded or cross-linked to the tail of this isoprene unit. So, ta-da, I have a terpene. Remember, a terpene, what's the definition? Two or more isoprene units, right? Bonded head to tail. And the bond is in red that links the head to the tail. Please be aware of this. Your isoprene unit's head and tail is generally connected by a bond. It's cross-linked, right? It's cross-linked. Something else I need to tell you, your isoprene units, they will only connect to each other with some type of cross-linking or some type of bond, even if they're head to head or tail to tail, right? Remember, actually, let me repeat that. A lot of questions will ask you to identify if a molecule is a terpene, right? If the cross-linking bond is connecting a head to a head of two terpenes, then you do not have a terpene, right? The terpenes are never connected to each other. There's always a cross link. You need, there's a reason I'm telling you this. When I do that example, you'll see what I'm talking about. But remember, your terpenes, the 2, 3, or 15 of them is cross linked. Don't forget that. And remember, if it's a head to head or a tail to tail connection, you do not have a terpene, because that's what the questions tend to have, bonds that are head to head or tail to tail, and will ask you, is it a terpene? So you will get a question. This is vitamin A. So you get a question, and the question will ask you the question will ask you, is this a terpene? Right? In order for it to be a terpene, you need to have two or more isoprene units bonded head to tail or tail to head. Right? Sometimes the molecule in question, sometimes it's not a terpene, right? And the first thing you need to do is go through and find your isoprene units and then look to see if they're cross-linked head to tail, right? Find the terpene units, see if they are cross-linked head to tail, because sometimes you get molecules that have terpene units, but they are not connected head to tail or tail to head. Any connection that is not head to any connection between two or more terpenes that is not head to tail or tail to head, you do not have a terpene. All right. So let's approach this. Let us find our isoprene units first, and then let's see if we have head to tail connection, and let's also find where they cross link. So remember what I told you. My first thing and what I suggest you do is go to the CH3. All right. So we have a CH3 here, right? So remember, wherever the CH3 is, this is carbon 2. So let's do that. If this is carbon 2, right, this could be my carbon 1. And I'm literally testing stuff out. So that's carbon 1, carbon 2, 3. I'm trying to do a shortcut, huh? So this is 3, that's 4. So I have carbon 1, I have carbon 2 with my CH3, 3, 4. This is this skeleton, right? Remember, I tell you, you're looking for this skeleton. That's 2-methylbutane. That's what you're looking for. That's exactly what this is, right? So that right there is one terpene unit. Find another CH3. I have a CH3 here, so this could be my carbon 2. This could be 1. So if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, I also have another terpene unit, right? This is the tail of this terpene unit, and this is the head. Carbon 1 is the head, carbon 4 is the tail. If we look at this is the head, and this is the tail of this one. Here is my cross link. My cross link is right here between carbon 1 and 4, right? So I already have two terpene units that are connected head to tail, so I can say this is a terpene, but we're not done. Let's find, because remember, at least two. So let's find if we have any more terpene units in this molecule. Again, I find my CH3, so this could be my 2, 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a terpene unit, right? Carbon 1 is your head, carbon 4 is your tail. Here we go again. I have another CH3, that's my carbon 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is another terpene unit, right? So, and even though it has, which is what I'm trying to tell you, even though it has a OH here, it's fine. Remember, it's variations of this, but you must see 4 carbons on the CH3. They can add whatever else they want, right? So let's find our linkage. All right. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 isoprene units, and let us find their cross link. So right here is our carbon 4 and our carbon 1 linking. So that's our cross link between a head and a tail. That's the head, that's the tail. Here's our other cross link. Carbon 4, carbon 1. That's a head to tail bonding. So we have a terpene. We have 4 isoprene units bonded head to tail. Right? No, I want to show you something, right? Let's say you were like, okay, lady, why couldn't I just go from here to here and here, right? Always remember this. Your terpene units, and I like to say they do not run into each other. Terpene units, they don't run into each other. Because if I had gone 1, 2, 3, 4, it means that this terpene would have run into carbon 2 of this terpene. Remember, your connection needs to be a head to tail or a tail to head. But remember how the head and the tail connects. It has to be a cross link. So there has to be a bond between the head and the tail. If you had gone here, here, and then here, right? Even though this, you would be like, oh, I do have a isoprene unit. Your connection would not have been a head to tail connection. So this is what I have observed when you do questions like this, right? Always remember your terpenes don't run into each other, right? They're generally linked by some type of bond, right? They're linked by some connection with the head to the tail. Here, if I had drawn it here, I would be connecting carbon 3 to 2 and say, oh, I have a connection between this terpene and that terpene. No. How the terpenes connect, it has to be a cross link. That's another thing that the question will ask you. The question will ask you to identify the cross linkage in your terpene. So it asks you to identify your cross link. The cross link is where the head and the tail meet, right? You have to identify your isoprene units if you're going to be able to see if you have a terpene. They must be connected head to tail or tail to head. The only way you get good at this is if you practice. So once you're given homework, you should have a lot of questions to practice. Always find the CH3. That is your carbon 2. Then you either go left, right, right, left, start playing with it and see, depending on the structure, right? Just once this is 2, one can either be on this side or this side. You choose one based on what makes sense. But what you're looking for is this framework right here. You're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4. And 2 must have a CH3. That's the framework. Anything else can be added. Okay? And just remember that your terpenes, your isoprene units must be cross-linked, right? They're connected by a bond. They don't connect to each other. They're always connected by a cross-link bond. Cross-link. Some type of cross-link, and your cross-link is just a bond connecting carbon 1 to carbon 4, which is why I said this would not have been the isoprene unit because that's not a head-to-tail connection. Or even if we never had a terpene, right? And there was a head-to-head connection, the head-to-head connection still would have a cross-link.